Hey man, how are you? Nice to
I'm
meet you.
good.
My
Nice to
name's
meet you.
Nick. I'm a senior at a school in Illinois, and I have a sociology project that I'm doing
Hmm.
on Native Americans in the sport of lacrosse.
Okay,
Uh,
for
so
sure.
uh, I was just wondering, like, could you tell me a little bit about yourself, like your playing career, that sort of thing, like just to get to know you a little bit better?
Yeah, so I'm from Six Nations, Ontario, Canada. Six Nations of the Grand River is our reserve is called. I'm part of the Mohawk Nation, which is a part of the Haudenosaunee. So the Six Nations all together, like the Mohawks, the Cayugas, Senecas, Oneidas, Tuscaroras, Onondagas. I'm a Turtle Clan, and I have been playing lacrosse since I was 3 years old. So um, So do you kind of know like all like the backgrounds of that kind of stuff? Like, well,
Yeah, but do you think you can go over that though, just like for the purpose of like my class who wouldn't exactly know?
yeah, okay. So traditionally, our games as an indigenous person or Ongwehome man, Ongwehome means original people in our language. We're giving a traditional wooden stick when we're born, and this stick kind of symbolizes our life, and it's given to us as we're passed on. We're passed down the game from different generations. So I would carry that stick with me through my entire life, and when I pass on to heaven, when I die and I leave this world, I would be buried with that same wooden stick. Like I said, it's a symbolism of our life, and the reason that this stick is so important to us is because we consider it a medicine game. Long before it was a game that we see today. It was played to settle differences. The traditional name is called Dehunchiquaix, and that means little brother of war or to bump hips. So, the original where this game came from, we were given this game by a our creator, and it was used to settle differences between our communities. Our nations were fighting where they're at war with each other, and we were killing each other and doing just being harmful to each other when really we're supposed to be living in harmony together and together. So we were given this game to kind of use it to settle our differences. And the fields that we see today that they're played on, usually a 100-yard field or whatever it is, fields that stretch on for miles long, through fields, through woods, whatever the case may be. Goals stretched for hundreds of feet, and games lasted for days, weeks, however long it took to settle that difference. And there was hundreds of players, and like I said, it's a lot different from what we see now. um, and as time has gone on through that, we also still use that as a traditional healing game. So I know we say it's the medicine game when we're playing with plastic sticks and we're doing this, but we still use it as a traditional medicine game at our longhouses. So longhouses are like our place of ceremony. So it's like a church or a mosque or whatever those cases, whatever you believe in, or wherever your place of ceremony is. Longhouse is ours. So there's times where people in our community who need you know an uplifting or our lacrosse ceremony, and they'll do it through our longhouse, and the longhouse will reach out to its members, whoever belongs to that longhouse, and to put on a medicine game. And we play with these traditional wooden sticks, a traditional ball that's kind of whittled wood into like a ball, and it's wrapped in um, leather from a deer. And you were using all of the traditional things that they would use back then. Obviously sticks are a little bit different now, but we still that wooden that still have that feel and that power from the tree. And we just kind of use those things to kind of bring good medicine and good healing to the person who needs it. Mhm.
Sounds good. Sounds good. You played at Syracuse, right?
Yes.
Nice. Can you tell me a little about your playing experience there?
Yeah, so I started off at University of Denver for my first 2 years. I ended up transferring to Syracuse to kind of be closer to my family. Syracuse was somewhere that I always dreamed of going, and it kind of became a reality. After my sophomore year, and I decided to move to Syracuse and be a part of that. And it was just an awesome experience to be able to play in front of the dome. Play right down the road from where my uncle and my aunt live in Onondaga here, and just to be able to kind of be around such a high native population and a population who understands, the game and also my culture was, really, really comforting for me, being an indigenous athlete. I think we make up, I think, like 0.2% of all the NCAA athletes. So we're a very, very, very small number of us in the NCAA. It's growing every year, but we're still very much a minority. So to kind of have that comfortability of, the people around me who understand, the things that I faced and things I've gone through, and my background and my beliefs, it was huge for me and a lot comforting. So, that kind of translated onto the field. I was able to kind of, play well and try and help my team win as much as possible and be on the field, and just kind of help my teammates on the field as well.
Awesome. So there's a large population of natives, you would say, in the Syracuse area?
Yeah, so there's a reserve. Onondaga Nation is right down the road from Syracuse, so there's a lot there. And then it's kind of a central point of all of our nations. Like I said, we got Oneida just down the highway too, 45 minutes. Cuba down the highway. It's right in the middle. So for my family to be able to come from all the way from the east to be able to come, or another native reservation from the west, it wouldn't take that long. It's like 2 or 3 hours. So it's kind of, these are traditional homelands where we came from. So like I said, it's a lot of comfortability to kind of was comfortable to be there.
Hmm. So you grew up on the reservation, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me just a little bit about like what that was like the nature of your childhood, any challenges you faced growing up?
Yeah, I think that for me, I consider myself very lucky. My parents did everything that they could to make sure that I had everything that I need. But there's a lot of people who didn't have those things, or weren't as lucky. The biggest thing for me, and I look back at my childhood, I probably lived in 26 houses in before the time I was like 14. So it was a
Wow.
lot. So we are kind of always moving, and the thing about our reservations is, they don't get any bigger, right? We
Hmm.
can't go off and we can't get new land. So our population grows and the housing situation becomes a little difficult. So, that was something that I always kind of, obviously being little, you didn't really think about those things. But now that growing up and being a part of it and looking for housing and doing stuff on that as an older, I start to understand it more, how that is such a big problem in our communities where there's not a lot of housing for people, and they kind of have to go off and off to find things. And just kind of, one of the things also is our water situation. For where I live now, where my family lives now, we're about just off the curb, so we don't have clean drinking water. So my entire life we'd always had to go and buy filtered water or bottled water to be able to drink, and to cook. But if you drive down the road 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes, as soon as you get off the reserve, you can drink that tap water. So,
Hmm.
those are the types of things that, people on the reservation deal with. And like those types of things. Yeah. And then another part is kind of the schooling, I guess, is, um, kids are kind of put behind the eight ball in a sense where, our education isn't very, we don't receive a lot of help from, whether it be the state or the province in Canada or whatever. So, obviously that sets, puts kids behind and puts them, kind of at a disadvantage to kind of want to do and go off to college and do those types of things. So it's really difficult for them to kind of get through those types of things.
So, what about socially? Did you feel like at any point you were like an outcast? Because up until recently, I think lacrosse is seen as more of like a white elitist sport, like the prep school kind of sport. That's what most people I know they who don't know lacrosse, that's what they think of lacrosse as.
Mhm.
Did you feel any like pushback or like any like social like what sort of like differences that
Yeah,
like
I think
yeah.
so. For me, just kind of, I played at the Hill Academy, and we played a lot of, of those prep schools, majority of them white, and all those types of things, and pretty elite areas, with big houses and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of saw that. Um, was what kind of bothered me the most is like just kind of just the way they treated the game. Just thinking about how my family and how I've been brought up to kind of honor and respect the game, and to kind of go and see kids when I was in high school. I'm not sure if it's still the same, but kids when I was in high school and doing those things that I don't want to say they took advantage, but they definitely weren't honoring the game. It was maybe not their fault because they didn't know the background and the whole meaning and all that kind of stuff, but just to kind of see them treating the game the way that they did, just kind of being arrogant and just um just like not treating the game with respect is the best way I can kind of put it. I'm trying to think of certain situations. Um, for me, I didn't really have, too much, racial or anything kind of interactions because there wasn't really anything that kind of really pointed me out as different. But yeah, I know I had teammates who, had ponytails. That's a huge part of our culture is growing out our hair, and that's a part of us. For me, I wasn't able to grow my hair like that. Instead of growing down in a ponytail, I grew up like in a fro. So, I
Mm,
couldn't have a ponytail. So, but my friends did, and they faced a lot of backlash of, you know, kids telling them to cut their hair. They look like a girl. All these different types of things. And those things always bothered me because, you know, with residential schools and boarding schools where, the Catholic Church would take Native American kids, from their homes to try and assimilate them into white culture. They were made to shave their hair and cut their hair. So that's a very, um, like just dehumanizing thing, I guess you could say, of
yeah.
making sure your hair was cut so that it was, you couldn't tell you apart. And that was kind of something that, it bothered my friends, and like it bothered me because I was looked at as I was fine. Like I was no different because I didn't have anything that set me apart, but my friends didn't. And it hurt me because I know that, I'm the same as them. I come from the same
Hmm.
place, and I have the same beliefs in them, but I wasn't able to kind of be there and help them or experience that with them. I just kind of felt like it's kind of weird. Like there's the white privilege type of thing.
Hmm.
So in that sense, I was kind of privileged that I didn't have that, but just the way it made me feel, I was kind of sad that I wasn't able to kind of, feel that with me, or,
Yeah.
kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That reminds me, I feel like I heard about this a couple years ago, I believe, with Lyle Thompson, and in a NLL game, the announcer made a comment about his hair.
Yeah. So yeah, that's when we were playing in Philadelphia, and, the announcer, you know, it's one of those things that, as I've grown older, instead of getting mad about these things, you use it as a teaching moment and to be able to,
Hmm.
we have no ill will towards the man who made the comment. It's not his fault that he doesn't know about these things.
Yeah.
It's school systems and not being taught. So how would he know any different?
Yeah.
So used it as a tool to kind of teach people the importance of our hair. Like I said, I'm not able to kind of directly comment on that, but I have a lot of friends who are, and
Hmm.
did an amazing job of using it as a teaching moment. Although it, at the time it hurt him, and
Yeah.
what that was the exact same thing. It hurt me because I come from the same background as him, the same culture, same everything, but I didn't get targeted because I don't have long hair. And it hurt me that I wasn't able to kind of share that with him, and be able
Yeah.
to take some of the hits, I guess, or the
Yeah.
comments away from, maybe they wouldn't have hurt us more, whatever. But, just to be able to use those things. And like I said, just as a teaching moment. And that was a big thing for a big awakening. Like I said, it was at the time, it was, kind of messed up, but
Hmm.
we kind of got over it and realized that we had a platform that we could change that, and show people what the hair and what the comment meant to him and those types of
Hmm.
things.
Um, Can you tell me about any times that the lacrosse has benefited the Native community? Like I know in general it's a very important part of your culture, but like any like more recent times is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I think for me, with the Iroquois Nationals or the Haudenosaunee Nationals, as we're called now, is
Hmm.
lacrosse gives us a voice. It gives us a voice, where I don't think if we didn't have it, we would be relevant. We wouldn't have that voice. So,
Yeah.
for us being able to use our own Haudenosaunee passports, not a Canadian one, not a US passport, but our Haudenosaunee passports to travel to Israel, to
Hmm.
Finland, to where else we are, Australia, right? And to show that we're a sovereign nation, that's something that has really benefited, our communities in our fight to kind of stay a sovereign nation, and being able to kind of be our own people and have our own laws and have our own government and have our own languages and do it all those things. That's where lacrosse has really, for me, has opened my eyes to where, you know lacrosse, like I said, lacrosse gives us a voice to help our communities in a long haul that, you know when we're playing and when we were younger, we didn't
Hmm.
really had that effect. But now seeing it and being older, I realize how powerful that is and how much that means to our people.
Hmm. And I know you mentioned Israel. That was the first time I think I saw the Iroquois national team play. Um, my coach played for Team Puerto Rico, and I watched that game,
Oh yeah,
and it was exciting for me to watch that game. Just see both teams played really well that game.
yeah, that was a fun game to be a part of. It's a little bit
Hmm.
chippy, kind of got after each other, but it was fun.
Yeah, yeah. How about for you personally? How important is this game for to you personally?
For me, it's crazy because you always hear people say, it's more than a game, like all this types of things, and it really is. And it sounds cliche. You hear basketball stars and hockey stars and football stars saying it's more than a game. But those sports, what sets lacrosse apart is they don't have that um, cultural and traditional, you know, what do I want to say, like connection that lacrosse does. You
Yeah.
know, for me, being a Haudenosaunee person who plays and was given this game by my ancestors, it's something that I take so much pride in, to be able to share that with other people and to kind of share the background. And this game has taken me to so many places. It was a vehicle for me to kind of continue on with my education to get a degree. Honestly, if I didn't have lacrosse, I probably wouldn't have gotten through it, because school is something I didn't wasn't something that I was, I struggled in school. It was very,
Hmm.
very, so, to be able to kind of use lacrosse to help me get through that was something that, you know, I needed for sure. And then now looking back at it after, I'm still playing now and then all and stuff, but after my career is passing it on to the next generation and teaching, players and coaches and just, people in general about the origins of the game and where it comes from and what it means and what kind of effects it can have. One of my favorite things to do is to, do school visits or camps or stuff with other Native American nations who aren't really familiar with lacrosse, but because they know that it comes from Native American roots, a light bulb
Hmm.
goes off in their heads and they love it, so much that they kind of have that connection to the game. And it's something that inspires me and wants that's, what I want to do with my life is to be able to, inspire kids and show kids those types of things so that, um, they can use this game. It's not the big money maker, it's not
Hmm.
basketball, it's not hockey, it's not baseball, but it's a game that, and it always has and always will be, more than about money. And it's something that we love so much for sure.
Hmm. What's the youth participation like on the reservations?
It's pretty high. For us, we don't really play a lot of sports besides, I guess, would be hockey, lacrosse, and then some people play like basketball or baseball. But usually in the summertime, everyone's playing lacrosse, and everyone's playing hockey in the wintertime. So I would say it's pretty high considering our population. I think we have like four, usually like 3 or 4 teams per age group. So from like kindergarten all the way up to men's levels, there's usually like 3 or 4 teams each. So there's a lot of youth, and it just continues to grow each and every year. One thing's different about my reservation is we play mainly box lacrosse, but field's starting to grow more. So
Mhm.
field lacrosse becoming more prevalent. We're getting even more participation from kids who you know maybe didn't try it before, or whatever the case may be, or recognize that it's a really good pathway to college, or whatever the case may be. We're starting to see a lot more participation in those as well.
Mhm. Awesome. Do you know of any time historically that natives started to lose connection with with like the creator's game? Like I don't know, anytime like during I'm not entirely sure of the history of like when the when the whites or I'm trying to like like white people started to like take over the game or
Yeah.
like adopt the game and stuff like that. Like was there any time that natives started to lose that connection?
Um, I think that, going back to when they first started in Canada, I know that, our Native Americans they're outlawed from the game. They weren't allowed to play because they were considered professionals. So
Mm,
you're watching all these white teams play, a game that your ancestors and your people kind of created. It's something that, I can't speak to what they felt, but I'm sure definitely didn't feel good.
mhm,
And I'm sure there was a time where, that connection was lost because, they kind of didn't want to be a part of that because it really wasn't our traditional game of what it was playing. I think for me personally, in a time where I kind of got lost with that, was that whole, I think for me was the whole, trying to get into college and just wanting to be, just seeing it as like a game and not really what it meant to me. What I like to tell, the story I like to tell, um, about my kind of awakening with it was, University of Denver, my freshman year, I became ineligible. It was the first time I ever had the game taken away from me. And I just kind of I had a lot of time to kind of sit back and think, what it meant to me and how much, I missed it and how much I needed it and what it really meant to me. For so long I'd been, had been taking it for granted, and doing those types of things. And, you know, ever since that day when the game was taken away from me, when I couldn't play with my teammates out in the field, do those types of things, or travel with my team, it made me think of, why I really play it and how I made me feel. So, it's something, like I said, till that since that day, I haven't taken a single day for granted. I understand what I play for, where it comes from. I haven't lost sense of that since, because of what that made me feel and what that was like for me. And I like to tell that story to kids, or any types of talks or interviews I do, because I want people to understand, so they don't have to go through those things that I did, and lose that connection, for it to kind of become prevalent in their minds, so that they can kind of think about it and be mindful of it, without having to go through those things.
awesome, man. So you play currently for the Georgia Swarm, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
What other teams have you played for professionally?
So professionally, I also played for the Chesapeake Bayhawks before the MLL went under. And Georgia Swarm, that's it. Those are the only professional teams. I played for the Iroquois Nationals, both box and field. But other than that, it's been it.
Awesome. And last question. Do you think that Native Americans have an edge over other players on the field, like in general?
Um, I don't want to say an edge. I think that
Hmm.
it would be, our mindset's different. We're
Yeah.
going there, and it's not just a game. For us, it's not about, I need to score 6 goals or else I had a bad game. It's about playing with heart and doing the things that, kind of help your teammates, and do the intangible things that, maybe you're not scoring goals, but you find a way to kind of make yourself effective, and playing with heart and playing with that good mind, and playing with that mindset. I think that's kind of what sets us apart. I don't want to call it an edge, because I know that,
Mhm.
you know, is different for everyone. But
Yeah.
that was my take on it, and that's just kind of how I felt personally. I know a few other guys are kind of like that as well, so something that I can kind of relate to.
Yeah. What do you think you'd be doing if you weren't a professional lacrosse player?
I don't know. I lost in that question a lot. It's hard for me because I've been so ingrained with athletics my whole life. And, it's like I said, we grew up playing hockey in the winter, lacrosse in the summer. So
Mhm.
if I wasn't playing lacrosse, I'd probably be playing hockey, to be honest.
Mhm.
But I guess if I didn't have athletics at all, I would guess I would be, maybe a teacher or something to kind of help youth. That's what I enjoy doing, is doing those types of things, to camps or clinics or just talks in general with our youth. Kids can, for me, I was in their position at one point, so to kind of have it come full circle and me have a chance to kind of give back into those things, I take a lot of pride in it. It's a lot of fun for me to kind of share my experiences and that kind of stuff. So I enjoy doing that a lot. So I'd probably say a teacher, I guess, if I wasn't a
Yeah.
hockey or.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. I learned a lot personally, and I know my class is definitely going to learn a lot from this.
Awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and good luck with your class. I hope you do well. Hopefully your teacher gives you an A.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good day.
You have a good one too.
Bye.
Bye.